your game and dive into the nitty-gritty. Without further ado, must can be action.
I'm busy pondering. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a wide receiver too, baby.
A wide receiver too. Meanwhile,
Wow.
I'm over here pondering, thinking, my water is all the way across the room.
You got to fix that, brother. What are we doing here?
We're just going dry this entire episode.
Oh man, just dry. That I don't want to say anything else about that. Welcome to episode 112 of Fantasy Football RPG. I am your co-host, Mike. You can find me on Twitter at @FFMikeCash with a K. Joined over here by Evan. Where can they find you?
What's up? I run the RPG Twitter account, so you can find me at FFRPG on there, and RPG Pod.
Delightful. Yeah. Listen, normally we have a cold open question, but I didn't want to tell you this because I wanted to get a live reaction. If one NFL player ran for president, happy election day. I hope you all voted, do your civic duty or whatever. Who do you think the best president from the NFL would be?
John Runyon.
Okay. That's a nice callback.
Team captain, great personality, loved the city, was loved by the fans. Just an overall lovable person. Was involved in the Players Association afterwards.
Yeah. There's all sorts of good vibes there. I'm going to go the exact opposite direction. Kadarius Toney, I think that he's just unhinged enough that he could get it done. But we have important things to get to. Let's hop into it.
And now it's time for news and notes.
All right, real quick injury recap. This is going to be very funny as we talk about the trade deadline. So Dak Prescott out with a hamstring, expected to be, quote, multiple weeks. CeeDee Lamb dealing with an AC joint issue. So the two of them probably in flux for at least the month of November.
But don't worry, Mike. The Cowboys are still buyers. They're still buyers, baby.
Oh, man. We'll talk about that later. Drake London, hip pointer, not expected to miss too much time. Chris Olave with sneakily his 7th concussion. Are we worried about that?
I mean, his brother says not to worry, so obviously, why would we worry?
I'm a little worried. A.J. Brown out with a knee injury. It said it's expected to be fine and he'll be back. Eric All, holy smokes. Injury prone isn't supposed to be a thing, but my guy missed 2 years of college with injuries. His first year, he's finally showing flashes. Tears his ACL. Any love for Eric All in Dynasty, or if he's on your roster, he's basically, if he's in your taxi, you keep him there. If he's not, cut him.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Before the injury, he was starting to get a little bit of steam, starting to get a little bit of usage. You could see a path forward. But now that happened, that path forward is basically finding a needle in a haystack.
My guy is going to end up with 3 weeks of relevance in 2028. And we're all going to be like, I knew it was right. And then he's going to get hurt again. Caleb Williams with an ankle. I don't think he's expected to miss any time, but maybe he should behind that offensive line. Puka Nacua, certified, has that dog in him. Threw a punch. It was pretty soft that he got ejected for it, though. It wasn't like that big of a punch.
I mean, away from the play, Mike,
Yeah, how'd the ref even see it? They couldn't even see Sam Darnold getting a face mask when he had the ball in his hands. So
yeah, I mean, they couldn't even see all of the holding calls that Ohio State's defense had against Penn State. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Zach Moss out with a neck injury, out indefinitely. We hope he gets a good recovery. But all those things lead into, so I want to talk about Zach Moss. The Bengals traded for Khalil Herbert for a 7th round pick. I saw a very funny poll. Cash, if you're listening, hello. Chase Brown or Saquon Barkley in Dynasty?
That shouldn't really be a question.
Correct. What is Khalil Herbert?
The hurdle that Saquon did? I mean, the hurdle heard around the world? Come on.
I wish
play of the year?
I wish you would have told me we were talking about this. I would have clipped it and put it on the stream. But what does Khalil Herbert do to Chase Brown's value, both short-term and long-term?
Not a ton. I mean, he caps the upside a little bit, but if you ever expected Chase Brown to be a 70% carry workload, newsflash, that's not the type of running back he is.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, is that people saw Zach Moss go down, and tail as old as time. They see a day 3 back with an opportunity, and they're like, he's getting the rock all the time. He's gonna be a great RB2 with some RB1 spike weeks. Maybe just like cool the brakes a little bit.
Second and third, he's off my roster.
Easy. Jonathan Mingo, you said, listen, Dak Prescott's out for a month. They're already, I think, in 3rd place in their division. Now's the time to push the chips in. And you know when to push the chips in? It's when you can get Jonathan Mingo, former 5th-year breakout great. God, I threw up in my mouth a little bit just trying to say that. I'm not even going to ask it. Jonathan Mingo is not worth rostering in Dynasty. Maybe if you see flashes of life, you can go pick him up off of waivers, but otherwise, dude, he's dead. He's certified not good at football.
Yeah, Cowboys pick management is just on point. 4th round pick for Trey Lance, a 4th round pick for Mingo, who, if I remember correctly, was on the Panthers. And I'm pretty sure we said the Panthers were one of the worst receiving cores in
Correct.
all of football.
And they got worse.
They did get worse. They got significantly worse.
Yeah. Last fantasy relevant ones, and then we'll talk about some defensive ones to talk about how it changes the expectations for the teams. Mike Williams went from the Jets to the Steelers for a 5th round pick. You know I can be not unbiased in this. So tell me, does this impact Mike Williams for fantasy football? Does this impact Mike Williams for what is the impact here for any of the pieces in Pittsburgh?
Well, Mike, as somebody who watches very minimal Pittsburgh Steelers football, because I know you're going to watch all of it for the podcast,
I'm here for you.
Tell me, is Russell Wilson spreading the football around?
Oh, no, not at all. It's the George Pickens show with some Freiermuth sprinkled in and some Calvin Austin moonshots.
Okay. So just as we expected,
Yep.
No, Mike Evans doesn't move the needle. There's no needle moving at all with that trade.
I will say, I'm going to take the Steelers hat off for a second, put on the football, podcaster hat on. I think that Mike Williams, as bad as he's looked in New York, probably still like a better wide receiver too than Van Jefferson. And now they can push Calvin Austin to the slot full time, which is where he thrives. So maybe from a team standpoint, it moves them from expected 10, 11 wins to expected 10.1 to 11.1 wins. But real fantasy football, he's a flex hoping for a spike week. Jay, yes, Calvin Austin does play football. And also, hi, other cash. We have too many cashes around here. Let's talk about some of these defensive moves. The Packers traded Preston Smith to the Steelers for a 7th rounder. I'm going to be honest. I feel good about that. I feel very good.
I love it. That's a fantastic move. I mean, talk about a guy that isn't going to have to start on that defensive line, is going to be able to come in fresh to be able to spell their other defensive ends, other outside linebackers, the guys on the line, be able to get inside and play defensive tackle on 3rd and longs on clear passing situations. He could even slide inside on some of the first down plays, which I absolutely love the versatility that it gives on somebody that was a very good player for a long time in Green Bay.
We are 1 year removed from 3 straight years of 8 or more sacks. We had a string of 12 sacks, 8 sacks, 4, like a couple of 4 sack years. If we can get 4 sacks out of the, edge rusher 3, edge rusher 4 for a day 3 pick, that's a great move. Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints to the Commanders. The only issue that I have with this is that we don't get to watch Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans anymore.
No, but you get to watch Marshawn Lattimore versus Malik Neighbors versus AJ Brown versus CeeDee Lamb.
I don't think he matches up as well against them. Lattimore's whole thing is that he can stop big, like he can stop AJ Brown, maybe. But AJ Brown is faster than Mike Evans. Like The reason
Sure.
that Lattimore does well is that he's physical and can contest catches at the catch point. Dude, Malik Neighbors is going to have them grabbing for flags in the backfield. Like, not a good
Okay.
move. Well, good move. I don't
Have
think
you
he
s-
matches up well.
Have you seen the Commanders' corners?
One of my first articles for Last Word on Sports, self-plug, go to Last Word on Sports, check out some of those things, was that Emmanuel Forbes was one of the worst picks of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't draft a 165-pound corner unless they have elite skills somewhere else, and he was like a fine corner everywhere else. So, yes, it is an upgrade. It does help the team. I love the idea of pushing in the chips and, like, you're on a rookie quarterback contract window. Like, go have fun with it, enjoy the ride. I just think from a football skill set standpoint, Lattimore matches up terribly against the NFC East wide receivers.
But you're looking at it saying we need somebody to take AJ Brown and at least put up a fight and keep him under 70 yards a game, which under 70 yards against that Philly offense for
huge.
AJ Brown when they play the Commanders, which they still have to do twice this season still to come. That's a huge win.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about one more. Let's do two more because we got to talk about a sad boy. But Zadarius Smith and a 26th 7th rounder from the Browns to the Lions for a 25 5th.
the Hutchinson injury. I mean, this is big. Like, don't get me wrong, Zadarius Smith has been flying under the radar in Cleveland. He has been good for Cleveland. The team's been bad. So it's just unfortunate when you have good players on bad teams and being in Detroit in a winning franchise in a team that's going to allow him to be able to get after the quarterback, which is what he does best.
Yeah.
And be able to do his little bear crawl on the ground, his little army crawl to get up to rub his belly after every sack when he's just munching on those quarterbacks over there in their division.
Do you think does this signal that the Browns are just like completely folding it in for 25 and probably 26 or?
Yes.
Yeah. And
guaranteed 25, and the odds that they find a franchise quarterback in the near future with their history of drafting quarterbacks, Godspeed.
I mean, luckily they have really good receivers to. All right, that's end of that. Tre'Davious White.
Look at that.
Yeah. Tre'Davious White from the Rams to the Ravens. We didn't even include the pick compensation. I think they like swapped 7th rounders up a year. I want to hear your thoughts on Trey Smith before I talk about it because I think I might be mean.
Okay. Well, the Ravens needed to do something. That is how I'm going to put this. If you look at the Steelers, I'm pretty sure the Steelers have a points against, and I get it. Games are a little bit different right now. Everybody hasn't had a bye, blah, blah, blah. But I'm pretty sure the Steelers have given up 100 less points than the next team in this division. Something close to that.
Yep.
If the Ravens want to stay in this hunt against the Steelers, they're going to have to figure out that secondary.
It is a little less than 100 points. So the Browns are the next closest at 94 points away.
Look at that. All right.
But
we were close. We're in the ballpark.
I will say that's not fair to measure them against the Steelers because they are the second best in the AFC, only behind the Los Angeles Chargers, who they beat.
But yes, so I do think it's an upgrade. Do I think Trey White is the corner that he used to be with the Bills? The lockdown, shutdown corner? No, he's not that. But he is a fine CB2 that can fall into the CB3. Yes, I get it. They're paying him more money than a CB3 typically would. But when you're a championship team, you don't care about that. You go find the guys that can negate a wide receiver on their own to allow you to be able to roll coverage to the other side against the number one wide receiver.
Yep. Okay. My quick rant on Trey White. He is all-time names you can know right now. He tore his Achilles week 4 of 2023. When we talk about what that does to the athleticism of a player, we're worried about it for running backs. We're worried about it for quarterbacks. We're worried about it for wide receivers. Like we always talk about this from a fantasy football perspective, but the ability to accelerate, change directions, and maintain your balance in and out of cuts, That is so, so, so important to a corner, probably more than any position in football. So the idea that this guy is a little over a year removed from a very serious injury, he's already 30 years old, 29, somewhere around there. Like, is he an upgrade over Marlon Humphrey? No. Is he an upgrade over a healthy Nate Wiggins? No. Is he an upgrade over Brandon Stevens? Maybe. So if you want to use him as a CB3, that you're really just using his brain in a zone coverage, that's fine. If you try and get him out there and match him up man to man, it's going to be a severe mismanagement of the player. At the cost I got him for, it's worth it. But I just think a lot of people are like, oh, Trey White to the Ravens. Like, they're pushing all the chips in. Like, nah, this is like a depth piece move.
It's a filler move. It's a filler filling out that hopefully championship roster.
Yep. But speaking of championship rosters.
All right, let's switch gears. Roll for initiative as we dive into this week's segment.
We're halfway through the year. Did you know that?
It's crazy. It's flown right by.
We're like over halfway through the year, which is ridiculous. So we're going to give out some mid-season awards. Evan and I have just been talking about like who some of the best players are, who some of the worst players are. And this is all from a fantasy football mindset. If you guys want to talk about real MVP, offensive rookie of the year, things like that, comment, let us know. We're always down to talk ball. But I want to lead it off with the fantasy football MVP. So this is somebody that was drafted highly, has been performing well. Evan, who is your 2024 midseason fantasy football MVP?
Oh, I mean, there's no question. It's Lamar Jackson. I mean, we're talking about the former MVP, actual MVP. We're talking about the quarterback that was QB1 what feels like a whole decade ago. Lo and behold, it was only like, 5 years ago now?
Yep.
So it feels like forever ago. People forgot how good Lamar Jackson was at football, how good he could be. He just got another wide receiver. Mark Andrews is not dead, for what everybody thought earlier in the season. Yeah, well, people thought he was dead around here. So yeah, Lamar Jackson, he was already going as a top 6 pick in startups. You fully expected him to provide that QB6 or better value. And he's absolutely exceeded every expectation so far. He is dealing with some injuries right now, which are a little concerning. But we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. You always expect Lamar to be a little dinged up, but he's got that dog in him. He just keeps going out there and keeps shelling out.
Yeah. I love the Lamar Jackson call out, but I'm actually going to pick somebody else in the Baltimore Ravens offense. So we talk about, there's been a couple of quarterbacks that are close to Lamar Jackson, plus or minus a couple of points. Derrick Henry, for where you drafted him, he's the RB1 on the season. He has 201.5 fantasy points. There's no other running back with more than 200. There's another quarterback with more than 200. There's not another running back. So I think for where we were drafting him, you were like, oh, he's maybe the RB8, RB9. He started falling down draft boards because, he's old. The touchdowns are there. The touches are there. What Lamar Jackson has done for his rushing versus what he has done for Lamar's rushing, it's a symbiotic relationship. Throwback to biology class. We just love to see it all around. And I think Derrick Henry, as it stands, is the fantasy football MVP. But
can I take a subset of a player and call that out for MVP, Mike?
Go for it.
Can I go with Achane when he plays with Tua?
Achane with Tua is fair, but when he's not with Tua, it's ugly.
It is garbage.
It's so sad. It's Achane with Tua, Brock Bowers with anybody. We'll talk about him later. I'm trying to think about what other players you're able to just be like, yes, when this guy is playing and this guy is playing, we're in. But let's talk about next up, our best value pick. So this is somebody, maybe a little later, wasn't really on your radars. Now, who's the best value pick?
Oh man, it's before the injury. I'm going with Nico Collins. So Nico Collins was going give or take late fifth in most startups this past season. I think he's clearly vaulted into a top 7 wide receiver at this point. I think that's pretty clear. Which, if you look at how most startups go, top 7 wide receivers, typically you're through the top 7 by the end of round 2.
Yeah. No,
that's multiple rounds of value. Also had Derrick Henry on here. Very much what you already talked about, Mike. I mean, he has been the king of kings for this season so far. He shows no sign of slowing down. He shows no sign of all of the wear of all of the carries that are on his body, not just from the NFL, but let's also remember at Alabama, pretty sure he had back-to-back games of 30 plus multiple times in his Alabama career. So there's plenty of carries on those legs. He's been doing great. He's having a fantastic season, returning tons of value.
I think, don't check my math here, but I think he's over 5,000 career carries going back to high school. Comfortably. Like, I think he's closer to 6,000 than 5,000. But my best value pick, I'm going to go a little different direction. I want to talk about a quarterback. People wrote him off. He didn't write back. No, it's not Geno Smith. It's Baker Mayfield. There was a time last year, let's rewind 18 months. We were having arguments over whether it be Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask as the starter. Now, Baker Mayfield has a long-term deal, and I just want to read off what he did in this last game. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, playing against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. My guy was 23 for 31 for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns and added another 20 on the ground. He took the Chiefs to overtime. Yes, he lost, but he is very clearly the guy in Tampa Bay until further notice, which in Dynasty, having the guy is very important. And then in redraft, you want to go out on a limb here? Who are the top 5 quarterbacks in redraft this year? Don't look at it. No, I see you looking at your phone. Don't be doing that.
Oh, I'm looking at a previous draft, Mike. We're going to go Hurts at 5, if I remember correctly. Might be
He's
6.
a 6. He's a 6.
Okay, he's at 6. Baker's up there. Lamar's up there.
Let's just do who's the top 2. Who do you think the top 2 are?
Oh, the top 2 are Lamar and Baker.
And who?
Baker.
He's just
Mayfield. Making some cakes over here, baby.
Baker is closer to Lamar Jackson than he is to the QB3. Okay. Imagine saying that a year ago.
Okay.
I love him. I'll accept no feedback. I was the only one on the show that said Baker Mayfield, not Kyle Trask. Shout out to Corey. I love you, buddy. But let's talk about a little sadder thing. Biggest turd. So this is the worst pick in fantasy football. I went from a redraft mindset. I don't know if you went from Dynasty, but I'm curious to hear who you think the worst pick was.
Okay. I did go from a Dynasty mindset.
Yeah, it's good.
Crazy enough, and maybe I'll get some slander for this, I'm going CJ Stroud. He was being taken as a top 3 pick. Why? You have a quarterback that doesn't have legs. Okay, fine. He has legs. They're not stubs, like the Black Knight. He's not going to say that he's going to bite off your head. None of that. No. He's CJ Stroud, who everybody said he had great weapons around him. Fantastic. Love that. But they also brought in Joe Mixon, who is being pounded into the ground with how many carries they're giving him. Let me see. Yeah, they still have a defensive head coach, defensive-minded. The season just hasn't played out the way that most people thought. Nope. And I am so happy to have gotten out of all of my CJ Stroud shares. 2 for 3 of them were traded straight up for Jalen Hurts before the season. I love it. Fantastic.
Yeah. I don't understand why people were drafting him as highly as they were in Dynasty. I put out a tweet, ruffled some feathers. I was like, oh, remember when we all drafted CJ Stroud as the QB4 in fantasy football because he was cool? Like, he was going to have to throw for a historic season, and betting on historic seasons is never ideal. dynasty, redraft, whatever you had it, CJ Stroud was a bad pick this year. I want to talk to you. So I have two options, and I need you to pick for me. One is a running back that we were drafting in the first or second round that is now the RB40 on the year and being out produced by his backfield mate. The other was a top 3, maybe 4 pick at wide receiver and is now tucked. Here's some names that are around him. Tyler Lockett at age 90, Rashad Bateman, Darius Slayton, AJ Brown, who's only played, I think, like 1.5 games. So which one of those is a worse pick?
Give me the wide receiver.
That would be Tyreek Hill. Wide receiver 31 on the year. It's because of the Tua injury. Obviously, we don't love to be mad at him for that, but the offense is pitiful without Tua. And without that ability to move the offense, we were texting about it during a Dolphins game. Like, they're not even trying to give him screen passes. They're not trying to give him quick slants. Like, he just disappears into the Netherlands. And the other option was Travis Etienne. Everybody thought he was a locked and loaded dynasty RB1, and now he's out there. This is a resident Dolphins fan. Reek has sucked with Tua too. Yes, he has. But I think he had like one good game, which is nice. But
The first game of the year.
yeah, but that was fun. All right, let's get into our next one. We have Fantasy Football Rookie of the Year. I think we're going to agree on this one. It's Brock Bowers, right?
Oh, no,
Like-
it's Jaden Daniels.
Brother, it's Brock Bowers.
No, sorry.
All right, give me the case for Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels by the fantasy community has been vaulted up to a top 2 quarterback in the same talks as Josh Allen. He is one of the premier passers right now, premier just distributors in a college run offense by Cliff Kingsbury. So you know that he's going to distribute the ball all over. He has Terry McLaurin looking like the top 10 wide receiver, top 15 wide receiver, maybe, that we all thought that he was.
Yep.
Okay. They traded away the head case of Jahan Dotson. So that only makes him better. Love
Was
that.
Dotson a head case?
Dotson was just an issue for that team. Former first-round pick, never produces.
I just
never
thought he
does
sucked.
anything. Okay, probably. He probably just sucks too. Most Penn State wide receivers do suck. So, it's pretty hard unless you're Allen Robinson, early in your career, Allen Robinson. But we digress here.
Yeah.
You have the rushing ability. Most rushing yards for any quarterback in the league right now, Mike?
He is second behind Lamar Jackson.
Lamar.
But Lamar's played an extra game, I think.
Okay. All right. So most per game, pretty sure, rushing yards of quarterbacks. Quarterback's the most valuable position in Superflex. It's impossible for me to say that there is any higher of a value rookie pick than having taken Jaden Daniels this past season.
Okay. I think we're 4 values into this, and maybe we should have talked ahead of time. You're from a dynasty perspective. I'm from a redraft perspective, which will be good for everybody at home to understand where our heads are at. Jaden Daniels was being drafted fringe QB1. Very excited about him. Brock Bowers was drafted all the way down QB 10 or tight end 10, tight end 11. He is the tight end 1 with a bullet, playing with some of the absolute biggest goobers in the NFL. My guy is out there catching passes from Gardner Minshew and his beautiful mustache, or Aiden O'Connell with a broken wrist. There's nothing to love about the Raiders offense other than Brock Bowers. And I think the fact that he has turned into such a weapon so early is such a great sign for what he looks like later in his career. There's no argument. We talked about it in our dynasty tight end rankings. We're like, oh, the dynasty tight end 1, the dynasty tight end. Like, there were like 6 or 7 guys. Now it's Brock Bowers and frickin' everybody else. Like, there's probably a tier of a couple of guys you can be excited about, either for promise or for age or for points now. But now, if you want promise and points now, it's Brock Bowers all the way through.
Sure.
So,
Multiple double-digit target games. Love it. You don't see that too often out of tight ends, unless they're my man K. Dotton over here just getting targets galore in that offense.
I'm going to kick you off the stream.
my snap share king right there.
I think since the moment that I said he was a snap share king, he said 300-yard games in a row.
So needless to say, I'm pretty sure Bowers is on a pace. If even if he misses one game of the 17 that they will be playing, for somewhere around 130 targets this season, which is absolutely huge for any rookie tight end. Period. Has a chance to eclipse Kyle Pitts' rookie record for yardage.
Doesn't have a chance. Is on pace to dominate it.
Yeah,
I did the math. He's not on pace to break like Kyle Pitts' 1,000-yard season or like Mike Ditka and all this glory. We're talking about my guy is going to set the rookie receptions record for all positions, which Puka had for about 12 months. And then he's looking at the yards one is in his window. The touchdowns are going to come at some point. Positive touchdown regression, and he's already the tight end 1.
Wait. And what do we have that you didn't note on in the show sheets here, Mike? My man, Norv Turner.
Well, sorry about that, guys. Evan just got oh wait. Hey.
The Antonio Gates prime coach right here. The days of using the tight end. Oh man, just love it.
They were literally like, hey, you're not doing well. Do you want to call your dad? Like, hey, things aren't going well. Yeah. Speaking of call your dad, let's talk about the Gabe Davis roller coaster award. You always want to ride a roller coaster with your dad. Great guy to roll with. I'm going to roll off with Breece Hall. He had 5 top 10 weeks through 9 weeks. He had 4 that were completely outside the top 24 and borderline not useful to your team. Is this a signal of Braylon Allen eating into his work share too much? Is this a signal of Aaron Rodgers hating fun? Like, how do you feel about Breece Hall from a dynasty perspective moving forward?
Yeah, dynasty perspective moving forward. You thought Braylon Allen was good at football. I thought he was mediocre at football. So, I mean, obviously, it's just playing out. We got a little confirmation bias. Yeah, confirmation bias going right here. Where Breece Hall is clearly the better back in that.
Oh, my God. He is clearly the better back. I don't want people to get that twisted. If you haven't seen the Braylon Allen film study, go check that out on the channel. But so is Breece Hall actually just the guy in the offense is going to ride with Aaron Rodgers' noodle arm, or where are we looking?
Yeah, no, Breece Hall is the guy. There were unsubstantiated reports that Breece was dealing with some injury during the time when he was getting some, less snaps.
Ghost injury.
Yeah, it's one of those that, New York, Broadway City right there. Yep. They love to put on a little smoke and mirrors type of show. It doesn't really get listed on the injury report, trying to keep it on the down low. Some things slip out. Oh, no. He wasn't injured. No.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about that. That was just a decreased snap share. We're just trying to keep him fresh.
Okay. Who was your Gabe Davis roller coaster award?
Ooh, okay. We're going with Jalen Waddle.
Ooh. Has he even had highs on this roller coaster?
So he's had one, the very first game. But that's not why I'm going with it. I'm going with him in the Gabe Davis role because he's playing a ton of snaps and not getting utilized.
Ooh, that's a good way to spin it. Does Jalen Waddle stink?
I'm one of these like carnival roller coasters that's got the little turny thing on it, the ball bearings, you're just going up and down those little mini tracks and you're just spinning right around.
Okay. I respect it. And then last but not least, let's hit our Trey Lance Dynasty Toilet Award. Would you like to lead us off? I feel like there's a pretty easy answer.
No, I'll give you the benefit of taking the easy one here, Mike.
You're going to make me so sad because in my heart of hearts was like, hey guys, maybe we've gone too far. Maybe we should value security a little bit more. But dude, it has to be Anthony Richardson. My guy went from being, 10, top 5. He was a first-round startup pick. We're talking about as early as September was valued like pretty dang high. He was the I'm doing this math right now. He was like the QB5, QB6. And now he's the QB21 from our friends over at Fantasy Calc.
And will be going down.
I think that he will play again.
Yeah.
I have nothing to substantiate that. For some reason, they're rolling with Joe Flacco after Joe Flacco just put on one of the ugliest performances that I've ever seen.
No, it's easy to substantiate. Top 10 picks get a second chance.
Yeah.
Welcome to the NFL. Welcome to the NFL, period.
Yeah. Oh, my God. From Fantasy Calc, 1 quarterback, 10 team, 1 PPR. It was Anthony Richardson, a 26 second and a 25 third for Jonathan Minko and Joe Flacco. It's a real trade that happened. Anthony Richardson for Bo Nix. Anthony Richardson for Jalen Coker, a second and a third.
Look,
If you think Anthony Richardson plays again.
I saw in one of my other leagues that Bo Nix got traded for Anthony Richardson and Michael Penix. That is the level of panic.
Dog. But okay. This is Mike. This may get clipped to be something funny. This is not the views of the Fantasy Football RPG podcast or any of its affiliates. Go buy Anthony Richardson. He's going to play again. And if he doesn't, there's still going to be people out there that believe in him like me, a bunch of idiots. Like, the insulation has lost a step, but it's almost like a ladder down. So he's gone from one rung down to the next one, and he's going to stay at this one for a while until he plays again. We're going to keep telling ourselves stories like he's going to be able to play. He's going to be able to play. He's going to be able to play. That'll probably last for another year or two. We're going to be like, oh, he's going to get a shot. You'll have time to move off of him. Go buy him now while you can.
All right. I know we don't slander Justin Fields on this podcast, but is he Justin Fields 2.0?
He's not, because Justin Fields had windows where he looked like maybe not a good NFL quarterback, but a competent NFL quarterback, and was scoring you fantasy points. The Justin Fields cheat code was when he played, you put him in your lineups, he was going to be great. When he didn't play, it was fine. It's whatever. The opportunity that Anthony Richardson has right now is he's just sitting on the bench. There's no Justin Fields' cheat code where he stinks for real football but is great for fantasy. Like, he kind of stunk for fantasy while he's playing too.
Maybe he can learn how to read a defense while he's sitting over there on the sideline. You know, just watching Joe just dice up a defense, figure out how to throw a ball into zone coverage, figure out how to throw the ball to an open receiver. You know, anything of these natural things that a quarterback should be able to do. Maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to learn just sitting there watching Joe sulking on the sideline.
Okay, you say all of those things. Joe Flacco was 16 for 27 with 179 yards and an interception.
Yeah,
he isn't learning goddamn anything over there. If you're going to lose games with your top 10 pick playing snaps. My guy has played, 14 games going back to high school? Put him in the game. Like, let my guy play. All right, who's your Dynasty Toilet Award?
Bryce Young. He's dead.
I don't know. Pretty good on Sunday.
Don't care. I don't care what you're saying. Bryce Young is absolutely dead. And I know you tried to buy him from me for 2/3, and I rejected it because
Principle.
Because of principle. Yeah. You have a former number 1 overall pick, but woof. Like, if you thought the QB guru was going to be able to figure him out and get him in a position to be able to read a defense, deliver a ball on time, see over offensive linemen, see through offensive linemen, which I hear, are pretty hard to see through because they're just giant human beings. Maybe he needs to get some x-ray vision. Maybe that might help. Go to the superhero maybe go find Cam Newton and his Superman costume. And
Sure.
just ask him, like, how do I get heat vision? How do I get X-ray vision? Supersonic hearing, so he can, hear a defender closing down behind him from his blind side.
I think it says a lot that the quarterback guru that fixed Geno Smith allegedly, fixed Baker Mayfield allegedly, saw 3 games of Bryce Young and was like, I can't fix this. We need to move on.
Right.
That's a freaking red flag, to say the least. That is the last of our awards. Bryce Young is dead. Anthony Richardson, I still have hope, but the toilet has started to spin. You want to talk about anything else tonight?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of other things going on in the world tonight, Mike, that people could be interested in.
That's fair. But if you're listening, thank you very much for tuning in. Head over to our friends over at BetMGM. Use code LWS250. Get a little welcome bonus of $250. You must be 21 or over. Be sure to call 1-800-GAMBLER. And also, Evan, I love you.
Love you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at FFRPGPod and at FFMikeCash with a K. Don't let the goblins get you. See you next week.